So how do you know whether your child is having a meltdown as opposed to a normal toddler or child tantrum? Okay, now there is a clear difference, and I think, as a parent or carer, what you need to do is distinguish between what the child is experiencing. So, for example, is the environment noisy, chaotic? Is there a lot of people around? Is there sort of like unpredictable behavior? Do you think your child's nervous system is overloaded? So I'll give you a real terms example. My son I thought was having a meltdown, okay? Just the usual sort of uncontrollable crying, like there's something really seriously wrong here. He's lashing out, he's using his hands, he's using his arms, and I'm trying to verbally communicate with him and to calm him down, and nothing's working, okay? And then I thought to myself, okay, let me just see what he was doing prior to him having this meltdown, or what I thought was a meltdown. And he was playing his electronic device, his little tablet. So I went to find it literally within like a few seconds, and what happened was he was trying to select a game and it wouldn't load quick enough. So I don't know whether the Wi-Fi was slow or something was happening, and he must have just thrown it down and just, I believe, gone into this massive tantrum. And the reason why I say it was a tantrum was because when I had resolved the issue and he heard that his game was now in play, he had stopped. So for me, I'm like, okay, that wasn't a meltdown, was it? That was just you having a normal tantrum, and I'm here just to talk to you about the differences and what really is a meltdown and what you can do as a parent or carer. So the real distinction here with a meltdown is the control aspect of it. So with the example, my son, he was, I believe, having a meltdown, and then I resolved the issue. So I went back, retraced the steps, and I found that he was playing his little electronic device, and when he tried to select his favorite game, it didn't work. So when I resolved that, I gave it to him, and then that behavior stopped. Okay, so that's, for me, the test. Okay, so if your child is crying uncontrollably and you're trying to calm them down and they won't, go back to what they were doing previously. If you're able to give them that or get them to resume that activity, then it's more than likely to be a tantrum or bad behavior, let's say, okay? With a meltdown, you're trying to, again, calm the child down, all right? You're using words, you're giving them activities and things that you think may calm them down, but nothing is working. That is the distinction, okay? The meltdown, I suppose, is uncontrollable. It is something that the child cannot control, okay? Something goes off in their mind and they just can't control it. Can you control that? I don't believe that you can. I think for me as a parent to an autistic child, it's about protecting them if they are having that meltdown. So I've spoken on a previous video where we went out for the afternoon for my middle child's birthday, and we went to a restaurant and we sat outside, and nothing, absolutely nothing would calm my son down. Okay, so literally it was a case of, right, eat your food quickly and pay the bill and leave, okay? And literally he stopped, he calmed down after about 20 minutes. For me, that was a meltdown. That wasn't a case of, okay, maybe let's give him some crayons and a piece of paper, or trying to distract him. Nothing, absolutely nothing would work. So what I did in that example was I just ensured that he was safe, because I was trying to pick him up. I was trying to comfort him, as we do as parent and carers, but he was wiggling. I couldn't get to grips with him. He didn't want anyone to touch him. So because we were outside, I just made sure that the other chairs were well away from him. He couldn't hit his head on the edge of the table. It was about just protecting his safety and making sure that he was okay. Usually I would try and sort of like reduce the stimulation, but there wasn't anything that I could do in terms of making that environment any quieter. You know, we were outside, it was a beautiful day, restaurant. So, you know, we did try to take him out of that environment, but as I said, he couldn't calm down, and he wouldn't calm down. So you're trying what you can and putting things in place, but sometimes it's really just about your child calming down in their own time. The third thing that you can do is for you to remain calm. Okay, and I've said this before, it is easier said than done. You know, our instant human reaction is to react, isn't it? Just keep your voice low. And I find that that works really well with my son. I'm not in a habit of raising my voice with him because I know that's a trigger for him. I know just like normally at home where he's doing something and I may want to call my older child who might be upstairs. And it's not me sort of screaming and shouting my older child's name. It's just, I would say that's a normal level so he can hear me. But I have to recognize that my younger son has sound sensitivities. So if I'm raising my voice even one level to call out to another child, my youngest son immediately putting fingers in his ears, you know, he just can't tolerate that. So I have to now explain to him, right, okay, sit there, I'm just going to go and get your brother, or I'll try and call him on his phone or message him on his phone just to gain his attention, because I know that any kind of noise like that will affect my youngest, okay? And this is where when I talk to parents and I say, just don't shout. You may not, it's not intentional shouting where there's like aggression or anything like that, but I think as adults, as parents, we have to try and be in control of our emotions as much as possible to regulate our own child, okay? So if you can, just keep your voice low and steady and calm and at a pace, okay? Because that will help your autistic child. If there's other people where you may have people coming into your home, you may have to go out and obviously be in a different environment, you know, as much as you can, you will just need to let people know that just to keep their voices calm and low, okay? When we came back from our holiday, we got to the airport, and the best mode of transport is just to get the train back home, okay? So we got on the train, and it was just one direct train down to our town, and it was about an hour and a half journey, something like that. So we were on the train, and I think after about 20 minutes, my son had a meltdown, and I knew it was a meltdown because I couldn't control him. And he had his sunflower lanyard on because I like to make sure that, you know, he's seen when we're out in public, and also just to set other people's expectations of behaviours. But I felt eyes on us, obviously, because he was out of control. He was loud, he was screaming, he was attacking me, he was pulling my hair, he was, what you can imagine, like your worst case scenario of a meltdown. Yeah, my son was doing it. And I knew people were looking, because that's your instant reaction, isn't it? You're going to look to find out what's going on. And there was a gentleman literally over the way next to us, and I just sort of glanced him, and I saw that he was kind of, I think he was rolling his eyes. It might have just been my anxiety or whatever it is, but I'm sure he just kind of rolled his eyes, and I felt that I wanted to say something to him, not in an aggressive way, because that's just not my personality. I don't even need to go there. You know, people aren't really just worth my time like that. But actually, I felt like I just wanted to let him know that it wasn't my son being a brat, because instantly I thought that's what he felt, that my son was just uncontrollable. But just for his education, and I don't say that, you know, disrespectfully or to patronize him, but, yes, he was a gentleman that was, you know, a lot older than me, and I just felt like maybe he didn't understand. So when I did catch his eye, I just reassured him that my son was okay, I was okay, and I said, my son's autistic. And I could kind of feel like the blood just drained from his body, but also a sense of calm. It's like everything made sense to him as soon as I said that. And then when he was getting off at his stop, he said goodbye to my son. And by then my son was starting to calm down, and he sort of put a hand on my shoulder to sort of give me that reassurance. And it was really nice. You know, it felt like he was saying to me, you're doing okay, Karina. And it was, that meant a lot to me. And then I thought to myself, you know what, I need to let people know. And I think the more that you speak to people about your experiences, the more that we can normalize the behaviors of our children with additional needs. And that is why, again, I'm very passionate about making these videos about my experiences with my son, because he's teaching me so much and I'm learning every single day. You know, he does something different and I'm adapting. And I think to myself, okay, there might be others out there that could benefit from my experiences. And even if it's just a case of, you know, you're not contacting me, you don't need to contact me, but you may just want to watch the videos and know that you're not alone, then I think that I've done my job, and I just feel happy about that. I can just spread that information out to you. So never feel ashamed and embarrassed if you have to explain to bystanders, just to other people, that your child has additional needs. And as I said, yes, my son did have the sunflower lanyard on. Well, I think because my son was just having this massive meltdown and he was not keeping still, I don't know whether he saw it, or even he may not have understood like what the sunflower lanyard means. So I just had to let him know, and after a while, yes, my son was calm, everything was fine. You know, I was able to sort of calm him down. But we as parents and carers, we have to talk. We have to share our experiences and our stories, okay? And again, that is not to shame our child. It's just to reach out to others to say it is going to be okay. So your child's had a meltdown, and we've distinguished between meltdown and tantrums, okay? What do you do thereafter? What did I do on the train when the whole carriage was staring at us and all eyes were on me? You know, nothing. Nothing at all. My son managed to calm down. I didn't say anything to him. I didn't lecture him. I didn't, you know, try and shame him or embarrass him. We just went back to normal. You know, he went back on, he was playing on my phone. We were looking at the countryside, and we were looking at the trees, and we saw animals, and I was interacting with my son like I usually do, you know. And that's not me excusing it, if I can use that phrase. You know, that's not me saying, yeah, it's okay, but it's, what am I going on about it for? You know, because respectfully, even if I sort of lectured him and told him off, he's going to do it again, because that's just part of him. And I accept my son for being who he is. So really, it was just a case of, okay, could I have done anything differently? Possibly not. Would anything have prevented him from having the meltdown? Actually, no. You know, it was just a case of giving him that time, giving him that space. The bystander that was obviously and visibly shocked by what he saw, you know, just saying, it's fine, my son has autism. And he was trying to interact with my son, saying goodbye to him, and, you know, giving me that sort of rub of reassurance on my shoulder, which actually meant everything. He didn't say anything to me. It was just, that meant so much to me, you know. And I think even if you're bystander, you're that person on the train that sees a meltdown happening, you know, don't stare, or offer some assistance, or be that reassurance that that parent or carer needs, and let them know that they're doing a fantastic job. Okay, if you know anybody or have anybody in your family with additional needs, offer them just some words of encouragement, please. That is the best thing that you can do. If you'd like to have a conversation with me, please reach out. Just remember that you're not alone. Details to connect is in the description below.